Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Hello, everyone, and how are you all doing tonight? I hope that you're all having a fabulous, fabulous, amazing day and that you are ready to talk about internet cults. That might seem like a silly thing to you, but I promise you it is very important that we talk about this today. Violet, you're here for the pink lipstick cult. I like it. I like it. I like it. Jelly Snack is here. Alves is in it to scam it as always. Good to see you, Joe. I hope you're doing well. Just wondering how they did it before the internet. Fax, telex, telegram, Morse code, television. Believe it or not, a lot of television, especially when cable television came into play, and there was a time where basically anyone could have their own cable television show. Uh, people were doing them from their living rooms, and I think that's really, the beginning. Word of mouth was obviously a very big one, right? How did he get his head so soon? A good razor. A good razor. That's air of nay idiot. That's right. That's right. I had to add that in there because that was the latest name that we were called. So I've been kind of out here for a little while talking about cults and multi-level marketing companies, which are actually commercial cults, which is a type of cult. So but the main thing about most of the ones that I've been covering over here is that they all seem to have grown and recruited over the internet waves. So using the internet, using the computer, to spread their information and recruit people. And I think that right now, uh, up until recently, we weren't really taking it that seriously. I was taking it seriously. I'm just saying, like, society still sort of doesn't take it as seriously as they maybe should. The general idea and stigma out here, I guess, is that you cannot be manipulated and controlled just over the internet from your own home. Oftentimes, when we discuss cults, people think that cults are religious groups, mainly religious groups, that all live on a compound. And although, yeah, some of them do that, um, the definition of a cult has really, really changed, especially over the last like 10 years, slowly, as technology is kind of growing. And we've had to sort of think about social media and the internet and how much it actually helps spread this kind of thing, and how easy it can be for people to fall for these things. There was this saying when I was growing up where now the danger's in your home because of the internet. Like, I was like 12 when the internet became like a big thing where everyone was getting it in their homes. And, before that, it wasn't really around. And I can remember like them having all of these PSAs about danger on the internet. And the big danger is that now it's in your home, right? Instead of you being in danger when you leave your house, now you can even be in danger inside your home. And I feel like we've lost a little bit of that fear. And I'm not here to instill fear into you, but I do think that it is important that we discuss that today and sort of try to end the stigma that if somebody is being manipulative with you, you just have to kind of turn off your computer and walk away, and then all is well. If that makes some sense. Interesting, we never had that kind of TV in SA. No, you didn't. We did. It was like back in like the 80s, 90s, you know? So I've put on quite the little presentation, and I think you'll be surprised. And again, while I'm going through this, I do want you to think of On Passive and of Ash Mufara, because we're going to be talking about many different types of these cults, and I would like him to kind of represent the commercial cult type of internet cult, if you will. Let's just get right into it now. So we're going to be talking about internet cults and their control. How is it that you can be controlled by a cult just over the computer, watching YouTube videos, hanging out in web forums? Maybe you're in a Discord. Wherever you are, you know, you're in danger of being manipulated into a cult. The internet has revolutionized many aspects of life, including the dynamics of coercive control within cults. Coercive control refers to the strategies used by cult leaders to dominate and manipulate their members, often resulting in significant psychological and social impacts. This overview explores the impacts of the internet on coercive control in cults and how it affects cult members. How people are manipulated into cults over the internet. The internet has become a powerful tool for cults to recruit new members. The process of manipulation often follows a series of steps designed to exploit psychological vulnerabilities and create dependency. And I know when I say the word dependency and we're discussing cults, your first thought is kind of like physical dependency, being out on a compound somewhere, someone's controlling all of your finances and telling you how to behave, how to act. But again, you'd be surprised how dependent people can be on people over the internet. So, the first way is by targeting vulnerable individuals, which isn't much different from how cults just generally target vulnerable individuals, right? But cult recruiters often target individuals who are experiencing personal crisis, loneliness, or a sense of purposelessness. These vulnerabilities make individuals more susceptible to the promises and ideologies offered by the cult. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to seek community if you're going through a personal crisis, or you want to make some friends. I mean, everyone does, don't they? I don't know, maybe you're an introvert and you don't, but most people want to have friends. So it's not a bizarre thing that you would go seeking. Like, this is things that are normal behaviors. And the problem is that you don't really think in the back of your mind that while you're out there trying to form a friend group on the internet, that you have to be worried about the fact that you might accidentally join a cult, but that welcome to 2024. And again, a lot of people, especially today, are feeling a sense of purposelessness. And here's the thing, they've been doing studies lately on the younger generation. Since I have a child, I'm constantly keeping up with things like this. What are the kids saying, okay? And they're saying that these younger generations, they don't have the best work ethic, but a lot of it isn't due to the fact that they're lazy and they don't want to work or whatever else. It's actually because we no longer live in a world, due to inflation, cost of living, cost of education, etc., where you necessarily just go to college or uni, graduate, get your dream job, make money, then you're able to buy a house. The housing market is shit. Most families are not buying houses like how every family could back in like the 50s. You know what I'm saying? And so, with all of that going on, that can cause more of a sense of purposelessness, like not having any purpose in the world. A lot of the younger generations also don't want to have children. There's a larger percentage of them that do not want to have children, and they don't think that there's any point in this. And again, that can also add to not feeling like you have a purpose. Um, and so this is something that I think we have to be aware of. And it's not just people that maybe aren't educated or don't have skills that don't feel like they have a real purpose, because the thing is, like, purpose is defined differently for each person. So for you, you might find purpose in your family. For someone else, it might be career. It depends on who you are as a person. So really, anyone can kind of fall into feeling that way. If they all of a sudden feel like they're in a dead end career, right? And that's how they've kind of defined themselves, as being a career go getting type person. That might cause them to now feel like they don't really have a good purpose anymore in life. So it's something that can hit like really anyone at any time. It's something we could all go through, and I'm sure many of us have at times in our lives. And these vulnerabilities make individuals more susceptible. So because of those things, it's a lot easier to believe somebody when they kind of show up and claim that they might have the answer for all of those things, right? So the example given is online forums and social media groups focused on self-help, spirituality, or personal growth. They can become hunting grounds for cult recruiters who identify and engage with vulnerable individuals. And the thing is that there are a whole bunch of new age spirituality cults, and there have been for years. And right now, in a time where there's constant Facebook groups that are maybe dedicated to self-help, spirituality, personal growth, even the MLM hunts and their groups, they're all great places for these cult recruiters to kind of go in and then prey on all the people in there. It almost like hands it to them on a silver platter. You know what I mean? Like, just join this group and you have hundreds or thousands, right, of potential victims. And that's, it kind of sucks. It makes it so that it's easier for them to have access to these places, because more and more online people are actually making like spaces for these things on all of the social medias. Doesn't one of them even have a place called Spaces? Is that Twitter, Zitter, whatever it is, X, whatever? I think it even has one called Spaces, doesn't it? So, like, people join groups that are not culty necessarily. Not all self-help groups are a cult. Not all spirituality groups are either. You can have a healthy spirituality. You can have a healthy religious view as well. That isn't a cult, I believe. Maybe not everyone believes that, but I like to think that, yeah, you can have beliefs like that and then not be in a cult. But then again, since you are open to those beliefs, it might be easier for somebody to kind of come in that is a cult and take advantage of that. So you have to be more aware of these things. The second way is creating an initial connection. So the initial contact is usually friendly and supportive, aimed at building trust and rapport. Recruiters may present themselves as mentors, friends, or sympathetic listeners. No, they're not going to walk right up to you and start abusing you right away, right? Similar to a DV relationship, it starts off, a lot of people say it was the best relationship of their life until, right? They want to gain your trust. So they're going to say everything that you need to hear, be the person that you need them to be. Sometimes those people are like shifters, and they can literally mold into the exact person that you're kind of looking for. And maybe someone that you might need in that moment. And they can pick up on those cues. To think people that do this, that's what they do. So that they get good at it. And the example here is a recruiter might reach out to someone who has posted about their struggles on a mental health forum, offering support and understanding. And that person might just be like, oh, great, this is a nice, empathetic person. Maybe they've gone through what I've gone through and they've made it out the other side and they're reaching out because they want to help, or maybe we can help each other or whatever. And then before they know it, they're, joining some kind of club that's like Nexium or something, but it's surrounding like bettering your mental health. And then it ends up being a cult, The third one is offering a sense of belonging and purpose. Once trust is established, the recruiter introduces the individual to the cult's ideology. This is a slow process, emphasizing the sense of community, belonging, and higher purpose that the group offers. All of them seem to have this family-like sense of community. Okay? And it's very telling that a lot of the people that end up in cults, maybe that's what they're looking for, is this sense of community. So the example is the recruiter may invite the individual to join an online discussion group or virtual meetings where the cult's teachings are shared, creating a sense of inclusion and purpose. Right? Jelly says, it's easy to become brainwashed online through short form content. It really is. I mean, think of propaganda, political propaganda, and how it works. And this is very, very similar. It's pretty much the same thing. The next one is gradual indoctrination. And I can't stress the gradual part enough. Oftentimes, people that leave cults, they'll say, like, I didn't realize that I was being brainwashed until after I left, and then was like unbrainwashing myself, because it happens so gradually and slowly that you don't notice it. The process of indoctrination is gradual, often starting with benign and universally appealing concepts before introducing more extreme beliefs. And oftentimes the leader of these groups will slowly introduce these beliefs. And while they're doing it, they're also kind of testing you and pushing your limits a bit and seeing if they can cross your boundaries. And they kind of introduce it to you in unison with that. Like, oh, they did let me cross their boundary this time. Well, then I'll introduce a little more. Oh, they gave me a little pushback. Well, maybe I'll like hang down, not really talk about it for a little bit. It's like this weird cat and mouse game that happens. So as they're telling you these beliefs, they're also kind of pushing your boundaries. And for some people, like that, when they do that very slow and gradually, they will kind of let them do it. You almost get brainwashed into thinking that if you don't let them push your boundaries and you're like shutting them out, putting up a wall, and it's your problem and you need to be more open-minded and maybe it's good to let them in, and they end up in that kind of mindset. So the gradual approach makes the transition seem natural and less alarming. Like they're not noticing it. And like I said, since their boundaries are kind of being played with, when those red flags come up, they shut them down, right? They'll be like, oh, I'm just being overly anxious about this, or, I'm overreacting. And it's a very gross game. It's gross. So an example is initial discussions may focus on general self-improvement or spiritual growth, and then gradually shifting to the cult's specific doctrines and practices. And I think we're like kind of watching that happen in real time, right? The next one is isolation from external influences. As the individual becomes more involved, the cult seeks to isolate them from external influences that might challenge the group's control. This can include discouraging or outright forbidding contact with friends and family. So, an example is the cult may create a narrative that outsiders do not understand the quote unquote truth and may try to sabotage the individual's spiritual journey, encouraging them to limit interactions with non-members. You start off with saying, don't listen to the naysayers, and then that turns into, don't talk to anyone who's not in this with you, because that means that they don't believe in you. And then that turns into, only talk to us. And that's just very concerning. And again, that's also gradual. So, it's not like the second that they become friends, they go, okay, you have to stop talking to your friends and family now. Because of course anyone would be like, excuse me, no. Right? Like, so it's very gradual. And again, at the same time, they're pumping you up and making you believe that you have this secret truth, or you have the key to something that nobody else has, right? You're a part of something that's very special, and you have to be a part of this thing. Otherwise, something awful might happen as well, usually. And in the case of On Passive, it's, what else would you do? We're the only answer. You'd never be able to do this without us. Yeah, don't talk to your family, Chris. Mm-hmm. Hello, Mr. Level. And as soon as they limit people's interactions with non-members, then they're creating that echo chamber, right? And then it's just like constantly all they're hearing, seeing, and talking about is cult doctrine. The 6 is increasing dependency. The cult fosters dependency by providing emotional, social, and sometimes financial support, making the individual reliant on the group for their needs, all of their needs, right? Oh, you're going through something? You come to this community and lean on us. Oh, you're feeling lonely? Well, again, come to this community. We're all here for you. You need financial support? Well, I'll promise you generational wealth. Let's also make our own internet so that nobody is censoring us. We'll just all hang out in there together and only talk to each other. So the example is cult leaders might provide counseling, actual counseling, they'll call it counseling, as if you're seeing a therapist, financial assistance, especially in the case of multi-level marketing, or a sense of family. And in fact, most of them offer that sense of family with the community. Like I said earlier, it's always like this community that's like family. You know? Oh, we're all like family. Creating a dependency that makes leaving the group difficult because you feel an obligation to these people in this group because of that sense of family, and then also however you're dependent on them. Yeah, we have trivia nights. Right, even for the fun, right? Like, you don't need to have fun anywhere else. We do trivia over here. So you can just hang out with us, even if you just need to blow off steam and have fun. It's very dangerous. So let's talk about the manipulative tactics used online. Love bombing, which most of you guys are familiar with what that is. But it's flooding the individual with affection, praise, and attention to create emotional bonds. Maybe having them on a show called Shinning the Light and claiming that their story is extremely important and needs to be told to the world. That can give someone a false sense of importance. And there's nothing wrong with that in itself. But if it's to manipulate someone into a cult and love bomb them, then maybe don't do it. So the example is online groups shower new members with welcoming messages, affirmations, and virtual hugs. Maybe even prayer groups. A heart-to-heart connection. Echo chambers, which I brought up a moment ago. Creating online environments where only the cult's ideology is reinforced and dissenting opinions are suppressed. So, example, moderated forums and social media groups where only positive messages about the cult are allowed. And I mean allowed because if any negativity is put there, it gets removed. You'll see this a lot in Facebook groups dedicated to groups like this, And if people ask the wrong questions, should never the saying you grow up with is that no question is the wrong question. And I like that. No question is the wrong question. No matter what, you should always be able to ask questions. If you're in a space that is deleting anyone asking questions, maybe you're in an echo chamber. And it's probably not good. Founders saying on passive as an ideology isn't helping their case. No, it's not. Ignore and ban the non-believers? Yes. Yeah, and it's weird to see when it's something like a business that's supposed to be open to the public, but yet they start treating it like it's a club and you don't want anyone that's negative in it. It's you realize you don't control everyone's emotions in the world, right? Fear and guilt. Using fear and guilt to manipulate behavior and enforce loyalty. So an example would be threatening spiritual consequences or social ostracism if the individual questions the cult's beliefs or considers leaving. Oftentimes, somebody will question it eventually. Usually the first few times that somebody questions, a big public display is made about it. And that's supposed to almost put the message out to everyone else to stay in line. Like, look how this person was treated. You know? If you ask the wrong question, we're going to treat you like this. So other people then, of course, become fearful of being treated that way. Watch Ash, he might try to make on passive a religion. Well, it's pretty much already going there, you know? He's not far from it. Misinformation and propaganda is a big one. Like I said earlier, very much like any political propaganda that you've ever seen. Right? It's very similar. Spreading misinformation to create a distorted reality that aligns with the cult's teachings. A reality that's just theirs. Right? I always get very scared when I see a group start to create their own reality and it's not really realistic, you know, to the rest of the world. But for some reason, they all very much believe in it. An example is sharing conspiracy theories or fabricated stories that support the cult's worldview. You know, stories like, I went to Harvard University, so I'm extremely intelligent, therefore you should follow me for all business stuff and marketing stuff. I'm going to give you generational wealth. Also, stories like, I don't know where all of your guys' commissions went. Somebody robbed us. That counts. So, an example of this is a cult that is called the Order of Nine Angles, or O9A. And it's quite interesting. We might look into all of these in future. I have covered some of the ones we're going to be bringing up, but there's a couple new ones here that are mainly online. So they spread online. So the Order of the Nine Angles, also called O9A, their background is that they're a neo-Nazi Satanist group, known for its extremism, right? Extreme ideologies. It uses online forums and encrypted messaging apps to spread its teachings and recruit members. Manipulation. O9A targets disaffected youth and individuals looking for a sense of identity and belonging. They use sophisticated propaganda and radicalization techniques to indoctrinate new members. And according to The Guardian, recruits often become involved in criminal activities and violent extremism, isolated from mainstream society. And I actually have a little video that I want us to watch where it shows this happening. It is a BBC news thing. Hopefully I don't get like copyright struck and booted off. I shouldn't. But I want us to just watch this because this is what happens. And again, this whole thing was online. All online. It was an online cult, fully.
Subcultures dedicated to a violent form of Satanism spread their hateful material online, but their influence is now being felt in the real world.
There have been too many examples of individuals who've been radicalized by this material. These ideas can directly lead to violence.
In June 2020, sisters Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman were brutally murdered in a knife attack by a stranger while celebrating Bieber's birthday in a London park.
Didn't need
Today
that.
we remember our girls as the wonderful, strong women they were.
Their misogynistic killer, Daniel Hussein, now 19, believed he'd entered a demonic pact in which he'd committed to killing women. He was convicted in July 2021.
Face me, hands on your head, stay where you are. You're under arrest, all right?
Officers who arrested Hussein found a handwritten agreement in his bedroom in which he promised to sacrifice only women in return for money and power. In the past 2 years, 7 young men, 6 of them teenagers, have been sentenced for neo-Nazi terrorism offences in which a violent Satanist organisation was a key radicaliser. Daniel Hussein's was not a terrorist case, but he was influenced by material he found online. Hussein had earlier been referred by his school to the counter-extremism programme PREVENT, owing to his interest in the extreme right wing. But
counter-extremism.
very little has been publicly revealed about how he came to hold his belief in demonic pacts. Concerned by what might still be out there, we've kept investigating. Hussein was active on a forum devoted to certain forms of Satanism and the occult. He joined in March 2018 while he was being assessed by PREVENT, telling others he was a psychic vampire. He sought advice on demonic pacts. The forum is run by an American self-styled black magician called E.A. Coercive. Hussein introduced himself by saying, "I absolutely love E.A. and his work," and had learned his first spell from him. Coercive's real name is Matthew Lawrence from Utah. He's previously been convicted of drug and weapon possession charges. Coercive sells expensive books and courses and uses social media to promote himself. Hussein remained on the forum for 2 years. After the murders, it took a month.
Though, he sells books and courses. Many do.
To identify him using DNA. He last logged into the forum only hours before his arrest. Daniel Hussein's beliefs mirror ideas promoted by Coercive. The so-called pact written by the murderer, in which he committed to killing women, was addressed to the mighty king Lucifuge Rofakale, believed by Hussein to be a powerful demon. Coercive promotes the idea that people can enter into pacts with Lucifuge, but says that real-world action will be required if their requests are to succeed.
And if you want to make a pact with the powers of darkness as a whole, Lucifuge is the guy you need to talk to.
There are parallels between Coercive's public instructions about such pacts and what Hussein did. He instructs people to sign the pact in blood, something done by Hussein, but that Lucifuge's signature will be visible only to you. A blank space was on the killer's document. Coercive says the final pact should be brought before the demon, lit only by candlelight. Hussein bought candles at the same time he purchased the knife used to murder Bieber and Nicole. Coercive says, include in your pact the attainment of wealth. Hussein asked for wealth and a lottery win. Some of Coercive's writings openly discuss and encourage murder. One book explains how to kill with a knife in a ritual sacrifice. Another work quotes the Moors murderer Ian Brady and advocates terrorist methods. The text was written for the American Nazi Satanist group Temple of Blood that appeared as an influence on the 7 young men recently convicted of neo-Nazi terror offences. The American group is part of a broader violent Satanist network, Order of Nine Angles, first founded in Britain. 2 neo-Nazi groups influenced by the ideology have recently been outlawed in the UK as terrorist organisations. Professor Matthew Feldman was an expert in all 7 UK terror cases.
I think it's important to say certainly not all forms, even most forms of Satanism, are not violent. But this very specific form of what's called left-hand path Satanism is a sort of social Darwinistic idea of the strong dominating the weak. A lot of language about what they call culling or murder, different types of sacrifice, different types of self-harm. These ideas can directly lead to violence. And I think that we recognize...
It's funny because this is what they were horrified of with satanic panic, and it wasn't even really going on back then, but then we have this going on today.
With other forms of extremism, that ideas can lead to terrorism and to violence. And I think it's no different in this case.
We wrote to Curting setting out our findings. We didn't receive a response.
Of course not.
We asked Facebook and YouTube whether they consider him to be suitable for their platforms. They didn't provide an answer.
Of course not.
The motive for the murders of Bieber and Nicole seemed beyond belief, but how the killer came to hold his beliefs may be becoming clearer.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. So that's just an example of why, you know, a forum on the internet can lead to an actual murder in real life. The next one that I want to talk about is called the Destiny cult. I believe I said that right. If I didn't, I'm so sorry. But this is a picture of the cult here. And the background of this Destiny cult, is that it's an internet-based cult that promotes a unique blend of New Age and conspiratorial beliefs. It operates primarily through YouTube and social media. The manipulation is Destiny recruits followers by presenting itself as a self-development community, using charismatic leaders and persuasive content to draw in viewers. The impact is that followers often become financially exploited, donating large sums of money to the cult's leaders, and experience significant psychological manipulation. And Vice recently did an article on them. But several years ago, there was actually an interview with two of the people that run this cult. It has like kind of like different groups depending on where you live, and then it was created by this one guy. Well, we might deep dive it in future, but while you're watching these videos, I want you to just kind of like pay close attention to maybe some of the manipulation these people might have gone through, and also their strong beliefs in things that seem like something that you or I would probably hear and roll our eyes at.
Well, no, he's not. I mean, you are speaking for him, but he does not put himself on the line to defend what he believes.
That point. He's past that point.
He no longer has the need to speak to the media in that fashion, and certainly the Christian media is a dying force.
And he's living his
Wait. The Christian media is a dying force?
The Christian media is now going through its last very extravagant death throes. Jim and Tammy Baker,
where do you get these statistics from?
All of the evangelists are slowly falling out of favor. And as we move into the Satanic Century, we're going to see Christianity's last gasp.
Well, now hang on. Excuse me just a minute, Nicholas. You make some broad sweeping statements that do not have statistical validation. Now, while
the death throes of Christianity, you've given up your ideals, and now you're joining the devil's ranks, which is to entertain people.
Let's talk about a worship service. Okay, you have sexual rituals, compassionate rituals, and destructive rituals.
And many more. Those are three.
Well, those are the three main ones Anton talks about. Now,
okay.
Zena, these are the three put forth in the Satanic Bible. Describe them. Destruction ritual. What is a destruction ritual?
Well, we believe in vengeance. We don't believe in turning the other cheek. You keep turning the other cheek and you run out of cheeks. We feel that if you are wronged in some way, that you take it out with the person responsible, whether that's directly or indirectly, whether that's actually going to the person and addressing the problem or the issue specifically, or whether it's working it out through ritual.
May I ask?
Now, see how when she's describing it there, she doesn't sound totally crazy, right? See, the thing is that oftentimes they'll have a decent belief to start, but then underlying it is a whole bunch of crazy shit that you shouldn't be believing. So sometimes, it doesn't sound that crazy, and that's kind of how they manipulate people into believing it, right? Because if you maybe just heard her say what she said just now, it doesn't sound like the craziest thing.
Before you go on, have you never had an experience in your life, I certainly have, where I felt I was wronged by someone else, only as I matured later in life to discover, in fact, that in that circumstance, I was the one who was wrong, and it was my own selfish ego that placed upon it the imprimatur of saying I was wrong. But what I'm saying is, if you claim the right to get even with anyone at any time, what if you're wrong? What if you do a destruction ritual?
Well, how do you know that you were wrong?
And what's wrong with your selfish ego? I would think your selfish ego is a healthier gauge of reality than some moral system found.
I would think it's very blinding, because in fact,
by instinct, how could that be blinding?
We're getting back to our animal natures. We are beasts, and we decide from gut instinct whether we have been wronged or not.
Excuse me, you've never done anything wrong and thought you were right?
Let's back up even further. Maybe if what you were experiencing was some youthful ego thing that you think you were wrong, what about infants that are passed from one relative to another and they're fine, and they get to one person and they just start screaming, and there's something there that's wrong, and an infant can sense it. Is that infant reacting wrong? Is that a wrong reaction? Well, I would say that on a much more simplistic level,
example.
That is the way we react. If we instinctively feel that something's not right, we have to go by gut intuition.
What if you're wrong? What if you're
Gut
wrong?
What is wrong
isn't
and right?
wrong.
And in our case, we are making up our reality. We decide what's right and wrong. You are letting the Bible or Jesus Christ or whatever God may be
even
decide.
Common sense. I mean, even leaving God out of it, to suggest that you can make up your own reality. My goodness, that's what they did in Tiananmen Square. That's what they did in Germany in 1933. I mean,
and that's what they're doing in America.
These are examples of people who created their own reality.
Everyone creates their own reality. The thing is, you speak for a consensus of reality which is acceptable. We speak for one which at this point in history is not acceptable. Well, so it's just a question of who manipulates the media, who has the most money to put their reality forth.
Would you pardon me saying that I find a world in which your ability to conjure your own reality as you perceive it to be a very frightening world for people like me, because you see, I'm guided by some codified rules that tell me what is right and wrong. In your world, I'm not so sure I would feel very safe.
Well, you would see that's your problem. You have in the satanic world of the future, Christian churches will be allowed to continue because they pose no threat to us. We don't need Christianity. Christianity needs us.
Sure.
So we'll let it.
Sure. Tell that to the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto. Why, we're not going to put you in gas ovens. We're not going to kill you. We just want you to wear an armband.
No, I'm not saying that.
I mean, we just want you.
No. I'm not saying I'm a humanitarian. Don't try to whitewash me.
Hitler created a reality. Was it evil?
Hitler was a masterful black magician. Of course, he created a reality. Was it evil? I'm telling you that I don't believe in good and evil, and nor can anyone decide what is good and evil. It's all based on historical and cultural values.
Now, one of their arguments is that it's not evil, for example, to murder somebody. If you feel like they've wronged you enough, then you can, go and commit that act. So that was part of the argument there. And essentially they feel like you should be able to do whatever you want. So sort of a scary one. We're probably going to dive into it in future. There's a lot of very interesting information that I found about this one. So stay tuned for that. But the internet provides cults with unprecedented access to potential recruits and sophisticated tools for manipulation. By targeting vulnerable individuals, establishing trust, and gradually indoctrinating them while fostering dependency and isolation, cults can exert significant control over their members. Understanding these tactics is crucial for developing strategies to protect individuals from falling prey to online cults and for supporting those who seek to leave such groups. Coercive control in cults. Coercive control in cults involves a range of tactics, including isolation, surveillance, and psychological manipulation, designed to dominate members' thoughts and behaviors. Traditional methods of control include physical isolation and face-to-face indoctrination. However, the advent of the internet has introduced new dimensions to these tactics. So, what is the role of the internet? Again, the internet serves as both a tool for cult leaders to exert control and a platform for resistance and escape for cult members. Enhanced surveillance and control is especially easy over the internet. Digital communication. Cult leaders can use digital communication tools to maintain constant contact with members, ensuring that their influence is persistent and pervasive. So, constant webinars. That's a big one. A lot of the ones that have grown on the internet, even Love Has Won, right? Their big thing was doing these 7-hour-long live streams where they would just kind of hang out together and stuff. But then they'd also be talking about cult doctrine, and they'd be singing songs to praise Mother God, and but it was just constant influence from her over live streams. Then also other social medias, like social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, they also allow cult leaders to monitor members' activities and interactions, further consolidating their control. Now, the thing about that is that OnPassive is doing this as well, and almost in a very scary and dangerous way. And I know it may not seem like it's very scary and dangerous, but the idea that Ash really wants for OnPassive is that they'll be their own internet, which means that everyone's going to have an OES account. We don't know what access Ash has to the information here. So he could potentially be watching every single click that every single person makes that joins OnPassive. Right? If he wants them to only use ONET and to eventually stop using other social medias, he's worse than Mark Zuckerberg in terms of spying. So it becomes kind of scary when you're really thinking about how he wants to isolate everyone into this new OES area for them to all hang out in, and how he has full access and control over all of it. He can even shut it off if he wants at any time, And the fact that he could threaten that in future is also scary. So the whole like surveillance and control thing really does come into play with on passive. Isolation and dependency is always a big one. So virtual communities, right? Online communities can create an echo chamber effect where dissenting opinions are suppressed and groupthink is reinforced. And again, like I said, if you're just going to be in your own little internet over in the OES and whatnot, that will be easy for them to do. Psychological manipulation. The anonymity and reach of the internet enable cult leaders to manipulate members psychologically, often by spreading misinformation and fear. The internet has significantly altered the landscape of coercive control in cults, enhancing leaders' ability to exert influence and control while simultaneously providing tools for resistance and escape for members. The psychological and social impacts on cult members are profound, necessitating a better understanding and more effective interventions to support those affected. Hey, Chelsea, good to see you. Some of the psychological effects of even internet cults are affects your mental health. Continuous exposure to coercive tactics can lead to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. Identity and autonomy. Members may experience a loss of personal identity and autonomy, especially in a cult where oftentimes you're supposed to strip yourself of the identity that you had before you joined this cult. It happens in a lot of these New Age spirituality cults, and then also a lot of religious cults where you'll often even get renamed. Or you'll get a nickname, if you will. And that's stripping someone of their personal identity and then redefining them in the cult. And it's very, very dangerous. As the cult's ideology becomes central to their self-concept. It's the other thing that you have to be weary of. If you ever are around somebody and it seems like their entire identity is actually this group that they just joined and everything about it, and you can't get them to talk about anything else ever, then you should be sus. You should maybe send them this video. The Trump cult. Mm-hmm. Social effects. Isolation. Members often become isolated from their previous social networks, leading to a dependence on the cult for social and emotional support. Like we talked about a little bit more earlier. Stigmatization is a big one. After leaving the cult, former members may face stigmatization and difficulty reintegrating into mainstream society. And the stigma attached with it is something that we should be ending out here. The internet has dramatically changed the dynamics of coercive control within cults. To further understand these impacts, it is essential to examine real-life examples that illustrate how cult leaders use the internet to control members and how members are affected by these tactics. This is one of the reasons I covered the Love Has Won cult and continue to cover the on-passive cult of personality surrounding Ash Mufara. So, a couple other examples of cults that grew on the internet. I believe there's more than two, though. The first one is NXIVM. I know when I say internet cults, you may not automatically think of NXIVM, but it was essentially an internet cult. I've covered it a lot on my channel. There's a deep dive on it. And also, we had a celebration when Keith Raniere was sentenced to 120 years in prison. So you can check all that out. But I want to show you some things today as well. So NXIVM, led by Keith Raniere, was a self-help organization that was revealed to operate as a cult, engaging in human trafficking, forced labor, and sex trafficking. Human trafficking, it was more like slavery, really. And then sex trafficking, I believe you know what that is. Internet use. Raniere used social media and encrypted messaging apps to communicate with and control members. He did use encrypted messaging apps, especially when he was talking to the members that were in his secret sex club. I don't know how else to really say it. He maintained a constant digital presence, monitoring members' activities and ensuring loyalty. The impact on the members were that members were coerced into providing compromising material, collateral, to ensure obedience. The internet facilitated the collection and dissemination of this material, reinforcing control through fear of exposure. So basically, Keith Raniere would get, especially women, to, send him nudes. And then he would threaten to release them if they ever seemed like they were rethinking joining his cult. Or he would ask them for a secret about them, something very, very personal that nobody else knew. And they would have to tell him this information as part of the initiation into the secret club. Right? And this actually started out as a multi-level marketing company. A normal one. And this is why oftentimes when people are like, I don't think that those MLM things that you cover are that important, blah, 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 I go, well, what about NXIVM? And Keith Raniere, who got 120 years in jail. Because, maybe if we were able to stop him way back when he did his multi-level marketing company, he would have never gotten to the point where he would have been able to start NXIVM and bring in Allison Mack and do all of those crimes. It's just unfortunate that back at the time that he was doing his MLMs, our community didn't really exist. It wasn't around. We didn't have multi-level marketing. Multi-level marketing was completely socially acceptable. Like everyone was like, yes, we love MLM. We love Avon. We love Cutco. So there was nobody speaking out about it because nobody was really aware that it was a bad thing. But it is one of the best examples that I can give of something that we could potentially stop today. And I know it may sound bad, but whenever these MLMs start to get real, real culty, I can't help but think we got to stop this thing before it turns into NXIVM. Because for some reason, they all seem to go down that route or down a doomsday cult route. And neither are good. So there is a very, very old video of Keith Raniere. And I just want to show you, this is his beginnings.
His idea is to arrange for you to combine your purchasing power, everything you buy, with millions of other Americans into one big purchasing family to give us all some clout when it comes to getting a better price. His name is
Did you guys think that clout was a brand new word, by the way? because I did. And then I heard this and I just started laughing. But yes, this was on television.
His idea is called Consumer's Byline, and I'd like you to meet this impressive young man. Keith, happy to see you again.
Yes, happy to see you too.
It's an amazing idea.
Yes, well, sometimes it even amazes me. But Consumer's Byline is wonderful.
I hate it!
And it's working. We've been able to concentrate all this purchasing power, literally hundreds of thousands of buyers, to get a better deal from the sellers.
For 6 years in the 1990s, Keith Raniere ran Consumer's Byline, a multi-level marketing company.
If these people become affiliates, what are they going to do on the average?
2.6.
Right. They're going to at least do this.
Keith?
So what's going to happen on the average?
You're drawing a pyramid, Keith. It's a damn triangle.
With this structure.
You are that mean.
It's going to perpetuate, right. It's going to go and go, because on the average, this works. We felt that people who became affiliates and recommend us to friends should be rewarded, should earn something for their recommendations. Restaurants don't do it, but we do, and we call it word-of-mouth income.
There was nothing to sell, because what I was really doing was providing the people I cared about with the best opportunity they would ever find to come along in their life, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I realized what I was really doing was sharing that opportunity with my friends, and there's nothing to sell.
Nothing to sell, which happens to be a mark of a pyramid scheme.
Da-da-da!
A pyramid scheme is a type of multi-level marketing that is inherently unsustainable and dooms the vast majority of its participants to financial loss. In the 1990s, Consumer's Byline closed its operations.
Yep.
During that period, several attorneys general investigated Consumer's Byline as being a pyramid scheme, and a class action suit was filed against Raniere based on Consumer's Byline's structure. The lawsuit was eventually dropped. Although he did not admit any wrongdoing, Raniere signed a consent order to never operate an illegal chain distribution scheme in New York.
In other words, Keith Raniere got a director's bar. We know somebody else who faces court on June 2nd, 2025, and they're also looking for a director's bar.
Years following, Raniere conceived of various businesses using a model that strikingly resembled the one employed at Consumer's Byline.
You go into this organization with 4 bronze bonuses, because the purpose of this organization is to take bronze, count the number of bronze in your organization, and give you what?
Wow.
Silver. So now we're looking, you're earning 4 bronze. The question is, how many silver do you have? See, I started out by counting just these 3 points to get my initial $48. Then I looked at the organization again, and I went even deeper to count up to 3 bronze. That's 15 points. And then if you go for gold and silver, you go way, way, way down into the organization. So does everyone understand? A bronze has like a little shelf, counts a little bit. Silver counts even deeper on each leg. Gold counts even deeper on each leg.
Wow,
That's how it works.
In 1998, Raniere founded Nexium. Its sales plan has not been completely revealed because relevant records have been sealed amid litigation. However, critics say New York's Attorney General should probe whether the company is structured in violation of Raniere's 1996 consent agreement.
Yeah.
Raniere has not responded to repeated requests from the
Of
Times
course.
Union for an interview.
Don't you find it interesting that they never want to respond? They never want to respond to these requests of an interview. I just find it fascinating. Truly, truly fascinating. But yes, that was Keith Raniere. And it's just too bad, like I said, that he didn't just stop there, is my point. My point is, if he had just stopped there, this damn man wouldn't have caused all of the harm that he has caused in this world. And he also wouldn't be in jail for 120 years. But I don't really care about that. It's more about the harm that he has caused people. You know, imagine if He had people that fucking ensured that he stopped that. I don't know how. Hindsight is always 20/20. But my point is we need to look at this and really learn from it. And maybe use it as a warning, if you will. You know? Another cult, because I wasn't good with just 2 examples, but another cult that you may be surprised to hear is actually an internet cult, is Heaven's Gate, which I've also covered on my channel. So go and check that out if you haven't. It's a good one as well. A good deep dive, I mean, on the cult. Not a good cult. Wait, no. But the background of Heaven's Gate is that it was a cult led by a man named Marshall Applewhite. He is that guy with the lovely bald head that you saw in the intro. And they believed, and it sounds a lot like Love Has Won, and I believe that I've brought this up several times before, that Love Has Won gives me Heaven's Gate vibes to it. This was at the beginning, yes, the very beginning of the internet, right? And this is what I mean, like, it's not actually as new of a concept as what we believe it to be. But at the same time, there's so little information out here about this. So I need to add to the world of information about internet cults as much as we can out here. Because Heaven's Gate is even a damn internet cult. And I know that when I said internet cults, you did not think that we would be talking about Heaven's Gate today. Because most of you wouldn't consider it to be one that grew on the internet, but it did. But he believed that a spacecraft, like actually, a spacecraft, was following the Hale-Bopp comet and would take them to a higher plane of existence. And they did use the internet to recruit new members and spread their beliefs. They had a whole website that detailed their ideology and served as a platform for attracting like-minded individuals. And what if I told you that this website still exists to this day? Somebody is updating it, and this cult is actually still going. A lot of people thought this story ended when the thing that we're about to talk about happened. It did not. There are still people that for some reason have this belief system. The internet allowed the cult to reach a broader audience and maintain control over dispersed members. So members all over the world, okay? The group's tragic end involving mass unaliving was in part facilitated by the cohesive and isolating influence of the online community they built. And that's according to the Rolling Stone. And the thing is that this cult was pretty spread out, and the mass unaliving was not a group of people all in a compound in the same place. Yeah, there was a whole group of people that were all in the same place, but then in the next several days, they had other people that were also unaliving themselves with the Nike shoes on and etc. Like I said, I did do a whole deep dive on it. I thought I had heard the website was still active. It is still active, and we're going to be covering it again soon. But it's just creepy to think that somebody is keeping this going even after this has already happened. So there was already a mass unaliving here, but then people continued it on. That's how strong the control can be. And of course, this is good old Marshall Applewhite of Heaven's Gate Cult. And there's a very short video that I'm going to show you. And you're going to see kind of how strong this belief was in the whole spaceship thing.
I'll tell you who I am. As to whether or not you believe who I am or not is up to you. I'm from kingdom level above human. What does that yield? That yields immediately that the vast majority say cult, some religious radical, some blasphemous individual that wants to take advantage of people, has some big bank account somewhere that they're taking whatever possessions that followers can get. I wish you'd show me where that bank account so that we could use it to get this information out. Everyone's quick to condemn. I mean, they don't even see anymore. They just see a tiny little aspect of someone else, and they quickly determine that they're so brilliant that they can judge it as being not what they're looking for, worthless, some radical movement, some movement that certainly is beneath them. I'll tell you about a kingdom level beyond here, and if you want to go there, then you have to follow me, because I'm the guy who's got the key at the moment. And it requires that you, if you move into that evolutionary kingdom, that you leave behind everything of human ways, human behavior, human ignorance, human misinformation. Now, breaking away from the world is not easy. It's difficult. It's tough. And breaking away doesn't mean that, I'm going to go live in some place with this little cult and I'll, spend time on weekends or at least on holidays with the family that I left because they're my... No. It means that you leave that world behind. You even become another individual. It means that even the mind that you had as a human is aborted, and the soul that was given to you is filled with next level information, next level mind, and a new creature is born. Most renditions of human artists of extraterrestrials are the most grotesque things that you can possibly imagine. Look like some praying mantis or some insect that has some crazy shape or form, and that's ridiculous. They are perfectly beautiful suits of clothes. They are perfectly beautiful bodies, neither male nor female. They don't need to have hair that needs to be cut. They don't need to have curlers. They don't need to use makeup. It's a body that exists, except when it has to go to a place like planet Earth. It's a body that exists, for the most part, in a non-destructive environment. So it's potentially an eternal body, a everlasting body. This is your chance. I'm here. I can take you out of here. I can lead you into that kingdom level above human. That can't happen unless you leave the human world that you're in and come and follow me. Time is short. Last chance.
Yep. Time is short. Last chance, guys. It's your last chance. Don't miss the spaceship. It'll come pick us up soon. So that was one of the last messages, I believe, from Marshall Applewhite of Heaven's Gate. Another one that you may have heard about as well out here is the Family International, which I'm also working on a deep dive on, so stay tuned for that. The Family International was formerly known as the Children of God, and it was founded by David Berg and is known for its controversial practices, including the sexual exploitation of children. The Family International adapted to the internet age by creating online communities and using social media to recruit members and disseminate their teachings. They utilize email newsletters and forums to keep members connected and obedient. And I bet you this is another one that you didn't think even used the internet, The impact on its members was the internet allowed the Family International to maintain control over a globally dispersed membership, ensuring that the cult's doctrine was continuously promoted and reinforced. And like there were books that they had to read too, and they were passed around all over the place. Former members have reported long-term psychological and emotional damage due to the coercive practices facilitated by digital communication. And that was according to The Guardian. And this here is David Berg from the Children of God cult. And people used to actually be so indoctrinated into this cult that they would almost gift their children to this man.
The Ten Commandments were done away with by the law of Jesus Christ, the law of love. God now only has one law, the law of love, to love God with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself. He said, Jesus himself said, the Son of God, in this law, he said, dwelleth all the law and all the prophets. All fulfilled in this one law. Just this one law of love fulfills all 10 and all the rest put together. So we don't need them anymore. We're no longer under the laws of Moses. We're no longer under the 10 Commandments. We're no longer under all that religious folderol and rigmarole and form and ceremony and temple worship. All you have to worship God today is your own heart. And you can carry this temple, which is the temple of His Holy Spirit. God's Word says so. This is the temple of His Holy Spirit today. And this is where you must worship Him. Within the temple, the holy heart, in the temple of your heart, into which Jesus said, I will come in if you just open the door. Open the door of your heart. Make your body my temple and I'll come in. This is the temple of God today. And this is where He dwells today, and His only law is love for Jesus. To love the Lord with all thy heart and thy neighbor as thyself. That is the only religion that counts, is to have the love of God in your heart.
Yeah, David Berg, very, very, very scary, scary dude. Should never be around children. Never, 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 ever, ever have been around any children. But unfortunately, this happened. So let's take a moment and let's talk about our favorite cult. The one that we've been covering most recently, right? On Passive, or as we've been kind of calling it, the Cult of Ash. Its background. On Passive, founded by Ashraf Ash Mufara in 2018, is a commercial cult, a multi-level marketing company with no products or services that claims it will help people run their businesses, but they are under controversy for being a pyramid scheme and were sued by the SEC for $108 million for fraud and unregistered securities. The internet use. The cult depends on several daily live streams to keep members motivated to promote it to others. The top leaders in Ash use shame, guilt, and anger to keep members obedient and ensure they never Google the company's name to find out how much controversy it's truly in. Its impact on members. The internet allowed On Passive to maintain control over a globally dispersed membership, ensuring that the cult's doctrine was continuously promoted and reinforced. Former members have reported long-term psychological and emotional damage due to the coercive practices facilitated by digital communication. Employees are on strike due to not being paid for over 7 months, and there is financial abuse occurring. This cult is still active. You notice how I can write up one of these about on passive, and it doesn't sound that different from the other ones that I've written up. I'm just, throwing that out there. Jelly says, the webinars have ramped up while business has disappeared. Evidence of the cultiness. That's right. That's right. And it, of course, as you all know, is run by Ash Mufareh. And he's a very interesting person, and he's becoming more and more interesting. I realize that a lot of you may have already seen these clips. However, I really need you to listen to them again in the context of what we've been talking about here today.
What's the point of just having a conversation with the people that already agree with you? You want people who disagree with you too, okay? But for a valid reason, not just because they want to be different so they can get attention on the other side. That's not the type of discussion I want to have. I'm open for a discussion for somebody see different, perspective or a positive way, okay? A positive solution. I would listen and I would have a beautiful conversation with them, constructive conversation. But if somebody just want to slander, rant, and hate and all that, that is not the rhetoric I'm talking about, okay? Talking about something for doing good. Is it clear that you should not listen to anybody at the moment and nobody represent on passive from the company side but Ash Mufareh at the moment? Is it clear? All across, all locations. Fantastic. Is it clear that we know the problem or what was causing the problem, that you sense there is a problem, that something is not right? I felt the same, but couldn't understand why is it not working the way we wanted. We paid the price. Is it clear to you that we are better off now knowing the root cause and having the proper remedy?
So, that's Mr. Ash Mufareh of On Passive. Jelly says, it's not clear. Me too. Me too. It's like, we stand with Ash. I'm like, why are we creating a whole revolution? Like, what's happening? The wrong thing to fight for. Anyway. The internet has become a powerful tool for cults to recruit and manipulate members by targeting vulnerable individuals, creating initial connections, and offering a sense of belonging and purpose. Through gradual indoctrination, isolation from external influences, and fostering dependency, cults exert significant control over their members. Tactics such as love bombing, creating echo chambers, and using fear and guilt are commonly employed. Real-life examples like Nexium, Heaven's Gate, and On Passive illustrate how digital communication and social media platforms facilitate these manipulative practices, leading to profound psychological and social impacts on members, including mental health issues, loss of autonomy, and challenges in reintegration into mainstream society. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for developing effective interventions to protect and support affected individuals. And that is why we are going to continue to speak out about internet cults and their control, because it's so important right now. More than ever, the internet is making it easier for these people to gain control over large groups of people and to spread these ideologies around. Multi-level marketing companies are getting cultier than ever and claiming that they're also going to be ideologies, or they're hiding behind being affiliate programs so more people are inclined to use them. technology is not inherently bad, but it can be used for some really bad things. And I think that we just need to keep on educating the masses and spread awareness and teach people how to notice these things. When you're online, sometimes it's harder to read people. People can make a video, they can edit out parts, they can show you the best of themselves. So it becomes a lot easier for people to kind of manipulate you than if they're in person, if anything. So because of that, cults are we're in bigger, greater danger of falling into a cult right now than we ever have been. So let's keep on going. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk on internet cults and their coercive control. I do want you to realize that when I'm covering on Passive, I'm not just covering this silly MLM with no products and funny dudes that talk all weird all the time so that we can have a laugh. Although, yeah, we're having a laugh during it, and it's good to cover them. It's also because, we are literally watching a cult form in real time. And there is no greater way to spread awareness than to just see it for yourself. And then as you're seeing it for yourself, you're also learning and, educating yourself on these things. And if you are going to be out here around a cult, I'd rather you be educating yourself about what they are and how to protect yourself for them than being in one. So have a fabulous night. I love all of you. And just for the heck of it, just because we can, let's do some in it to win it. Because honestly, the one thing that all these cults also have in common is they all have songs. Have a fabulous night. I'll see you tomorrow at some point. Mwah! Bye!
My name is Ash Mufara, and I'm your friend. My name is Ash Mufara, and I'm your friend.
I'm Mike Ellis, by the way.
Call me Reverend Jim Jones, okay? Let's go to Guyana, all right? No joke. If that's a call. Hey.
And I'm your friend.
That negative YouTube channel has got more followers on it than I do on my own. And it breaks my heart.
And I'm your friend. My name is Ash Mufara. If you're rude, if you've been doubting or spying, or we know who you are.
Stop going there. She wants to be the first to make us look silly. Yeah, Queen of Karma's on there asking for a debate. That's the lady I brought on. Her debate was 3-minute Ash. And another Queen of Karma asking about why don't we answer the question about religion. I think we've answered that over and over again.
I've been answering them all morning long. It's not the answer you want, but call me Reverend Jim Jones, okay? Let's go to Guyana, all right? No joke.
All right, this is a great way to start your day. Come here and tune into crazy men talking about their experiences.
My name is Ash Mufara, and I'm your friend.
I'm Mike Ellis, by the way.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a great night.
And I'm your friend. My name's Ashton Potter.
Stop going there. Yeah, Queen of Karma's down there.
My name's Ashton Potter, and I'm your friend.
Let's go to Guyana.
You're gonna tell me that this thing is not a cult?